All right, let's talk about Deebo Samuel. He was called Do It All Deebo during the Nickelodeon broadcast, and I actually kind of love that nickname. I don't know if they invented it, but it's really perfect. I mean, he's someone who can do anything. He has basically every tool in the toolbox you would want from an offensive weapon. And, there's just so many things he can do. Let's talk about, well, all of them, and he kind of showed them all off in the game against the Green Bay Packers. So, first, let's start off with a kickoff. And listen, I want to be very clear up front. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am a special teams expert, okay? I'm not. But what I can do is I know what traits are typically effective in a kick returner and why Deebo Samuel can be effective in this stuff. One of the things that he can do very well is he's just explosive. He gets up to a top speed very quickly. This is also, this comes in handy with a running back. That's why you will see a decent amount of running back speed to kickoff returners for that reason. Obviously, it works well for receivers as well. But another thing that he does very well is he sees the field well. He has really good vision, and this works in any of the things that he is trying to accomplish. A play like this, a lot of times you would just sort of run up the middle and eventually get tackled at around the 20-yard line-ish. Because you see for Green Bay, they are kind of in a tough spot here over towards the right side of the screen. Samuel sees this, he notices it, but now he's going to have to change directions while at a top speed and get over there. However, watch how that's exactly what he's going to be able to do, and he's able to pick up a good return here. Listen, yes, you're beating the Packers special teams. It's not exactly the most difficult thing to do, right? But it goes both ways. You have to be able to do it and be effective at it as well, and Samuel can do that stuff. So this is just one of the many things that he does well, and this is why he can be a good returner among other things. Another thing he does so well will be something like this, which is just wide receiver screens. I mean, he's a good blocker, so when he's in a situation like this, you don't necessarily know the ball is going to go into his hands, but they do like to give him the ball because he's so effective when he has the ball in his hands. The way this play works is pretty simple. You just have a receiver run out and block the guy who's covering Samuel, and you have a couple of offensive linemen who will go out and block the two guys who you see on the screen. And as you see right when this play begins, so Garoppolo gets it over to Samuel. One thing you saw Samuel catch it and then move very quickly. That was pretty fun. But also you do see that this is well blocked for him. And that's an element of this, right? Is that he fits this Shanahan scheme so well. They like to run a lot of wide receiver screens. So they went out and got a Deebo Samuel who fit that scheme perfectly. That's why when this pick happened several years ago, I was a big fan of it because I really liked how Samuel's skill set matched with the 49ers. Watch how Samuel can be shifty enough to move and get through that while staying at a top speed. That's what he can do, is he can run at a top speed and change directions very quickly. And the reality is you can do those two things, you're going to fit any scheme well, but especially a Shanahan scheme that can really thrive with those things. Like this one's going to be another one where it's a similar play. It's going to be a screen pass here. But what's interesting is that Samuel is going to start off blocking, but then he's going to step back and take the screen. And again, you see the 3 blocks on your screen. And look at how right when this play begins, what you're going to notice right here is that, so Deebo Samuel makes the catch. And at this point, you do see that right there, Preston Smith could run over and make a play. Samuel's trying to run and follow his blocks, but this is kind of where things can get a little bit interesting. You want to let your offensive lineman get there to make the block, but obviously if you just stand there, you're going to get tackled. So you have to kind of time this absolutely perfectly. But look at how he's going to fit through a very small window, basically waits the perfect amount of time and gets the most amount of yards possible given the play. And that's what you want from a guy like Samuel in these types of plays. It's maximize the potential offensive output. And that's what he can do so effectively. And it works really well in these screen passes. It works well in the kick return game. And probably the most notable way you can see it work is going to be in the running game. Let's talk about this play. This was a huge play in the game. So if you don't remember, this was when the Packers and 49ers were tied. The 49ers are in a long field goal range scenario, but you don't want to kick it from here. And it's a 3rd down and 7. So you want to gain some yards and see if you can hopefully get the first down on a 3rd down and 7. But at the same time, you want to be able to kill 40 seconds here. There's about a minute left, and Green Bay can't stop the clock. So if you run it, you at least are basically guaranteeing that you're going to be the last team to touch the football. You see the blocking concept on your screen. It's supposed to be a run to the offense's right, which is towards the left side of the screen. But there's going to be one key block that doesn't really get made here, and it's going to be the block on Jair Alexander. Look at how right when this play begins, you see that Alexander kind of gets by there. I'm not sure if there's a miscommunication or what there, but Alexander is left unblocked here. So if he runs up and tackles Samuel, okay, maybe the Packers still lose. Maybe Robbie Gould kicks a really long field goal in these harsh conditions, and they end up winning regardless. But the chances are a lot smaller. You want to pick up the first down here. As you see, Samuel makes a move, absorbs the contact because he's not an easy guy to bring down. He eventually does get brought down at the 29, but that was after he picked up the first down, which allowed them to get some more yards, killed the remainder of the clock, which meant that there's no chance that a miss would give Aaron Rodgers a short field to win it himself. So all of that stuff, just really impressive. And this is the exact kind of play that Samuel can do so well. There's certain guys where it's hard to, part of why he wasn't such an early draft pick is because it's hard to watch him do this to guys in college and say he'll do it to guys in the NFL, because you don't know. Will he be able to run over guys in the NFL like he was able to in college? The answer has clearly been yes. He's just an incredible athlete and one of the more unique talents in football, quite frankly. So yeah, those are my main thoughts on Deebo Samuel. He's just such an interesting, unique player, and I kind of like this style of stuff, and it kind of makes me think a little bit. Could you see teams start to use, like, say, for example, the Panthers with Christian McCaffrey? Instead of viewing McCaffrey as a running back who sometimes plays receiver, maybe have him be a receiver first who also can be a running back. Stuff like that is interesting, and I think it makes sense. Like, Deebo Samuel, you don't want to just run into the ground having him be a running back on every play, but you don't want to not use him as a running back. He can be effective there. So have him as a rotational back while also being one of your team's best wide receivers, and it also helps that they have guys like George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk who can get open. So therefore, when you want to have Samuel run the football, he can be effective as that as well, and you still have passing options. So it's not like you're taking away your best receiver when you do something like that. But plus, Samuel can run routes out of the backfield. So it all goes together and can all be very fascinating. I mean, he's an interesting guy to watch, and it's kind of just one of those classic Kyle Shanahan guys in a lot of ways, right? You have this physical guy whose skill set is just a little bit unique, and he can do several different things. I mean, one of the real benefits of having a guy like Deebo Samuel who can just check many boxes is it just gives you an extra roster spot. You know, he can play wide receiver and he can play halfback, so that's one less guy you have to have. You have a running back and a halfback who are just both the same player. It's kind of similar to how, like, you see sometimes a lot of, like, 6th and 7th round picks in the NFL tend to be guys who, like, maybe aren't spectacular but can both play wide receiver and running back just because you check off two boxes. Well, you're getting that aspect with Samuel, even though he's a star player, so that adds even more value. So it's not quite the same as like a Shohei Ohtani in baseball, because you can't play two different positions at once. It'd be really valuable if he was also playing defense or something, and hey, maybe one day he will, who knows? But you do at least get the special teams value along with the wide receiver value and halfback value. And he's just an interesting player to talk about and an interesting player to break down. So yeah, that's what I think about Samuel. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Deebo Samuel and everything he can do in this San Francisco 49ers offense? It's very fun. Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.